Okay, hi team, I hope you are all well. Today I'm going to be giving you some sci-fi recommendations because I have basically put together my own bingo board for what I'm calling hashtag It's Sci-Fi July. I really want to read a bunch of sci-fi in July. I have been wanting to read a bunch of sci-fi for a couple months now, but just haven't been able to fit it into my TBR for one reason or another. So I wanted to focus on sci-fi books in July. I'm not going to be reading only sci-fi books because I've got other things, other commitments to be getting on with as well. But I want to read a bunch of sci-fi in July, and I thought I would go through some of my recommendations for sci-fi because I haven't read a great deal, but the books that I have read I've really enjoyed, and I thought I would go through some recommendations for you before I push the announcement out on the Sci-Fi July board. The Sci-Fi July is not going to be a readathon per se. I wanted to do this myself, but I wanted some prompts to push me along, and I made a bingo board, and then I just kind of asked if people would like to see it, and they said yes. So I am going to do an announcement video, but it's not a readathon per se. It's a bingo board. So without further ado, let's get into these. I have like 10 recommendations for you here. Some of them are dystopia, one of them's a graphic novel, most of them are sci-fi. I know dystopia comes under the sci-fi main header, so that's why I've added one or two in here. But let's go through these. I am going to try and briefly give you a synopsis of these, but if I'm struggling because it's been a while since I've read them, I will just read the synopsis off the back of the book to you. Well, we'll see what happens. But the first one I'm going to recommend is one of my favourite sci-fis of all time. It is one of my favourite book to movie adaptations I have ever seen in my life, and I'm obsessed with it, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. I love this book. I love this movie. I saw the movie before I read the book, and honestly, just friggin' amazing. I had such a great time with both. This is hilarious. I would deem this... I don't think it's specifically comedy sci-fi, but I would say that there is enough comedy in here for this to be comedic sci-fi.
I'm gonna have to science the shit out of this.
Basically, we're following Mark Watney, who accidentally gets left on Mars during a trip. So essentially there is a big storm that hits Mars, and essentially he gets knocked off his feet, and his crew basically think that he is dead. So they leave Mars, and it turns out he isn't dead. He then has to survive the next, I can't remember how long it is, whether it's like a year and a half or something. He then has to try and survive while he tries to let Earth know that he is still alive and he needs to be rescued. And this is just absolutely brilliant. I've never gotten so lost in a book before, I don't think. And the movie as well, I'm just pretty convinced that I'm on Mars with him, and I'm going through this entire thing with him. It's very emotional, but he brings comedy to it, and it's just fantastic. I really, really enjoy this. The audiobook for this is priceless. It's just... the whole thing's so good. I can't stop gushing about this book. I am obsessed. The movie is fantastic. If you enjoyed the movie, you will like the book. The book is pretty much the exact same as the movie, but just with more detail. And just one of the best adaptations I've ever seen. One of the best. Just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Highly recommend this one. But yeah, I will be hopefully rereading this one next month because I haven't read it in a while and I really want to reread it. So yeah.
Oh, fuck you, Mars.
Then we have a graphic novel, and we've got Descender for you, which I really love this series. I got the recommendation for this from G, from Book Roast, and I just really loved this series. There has now been a spin-off series called Ascender, which I haven't started reading yet, but I have started collecting volumes of it because I kind of want to binge it. And this is following a young android named Tim-21. This is 10 years after a planet-sized robot called Harvesters appear and wreak havoc all across a galaxy. Following Tim-21, who wakes to find that all robots have been outlawed, but Tim may hold the secrets to the Harvesters in his machine DNA, and he quickly becomes the most wanted robot in the universe. With bounty hunters and threats lurking in every turn, Tim embarks on a mind-blowing adventure through the stars along with his robot dog Bandit and the lumbering mining droid Driller. I really enjoyed this. The illustrations are not usually what I would like. I see these as like very, very sketched, maybe not quite finished illustrations, but it's really colourful and I did enjoy it, so I would recommend this one. I had a great time with it, and yeah, highly recommend this one. Then we have Steelheart by Brandon Sanderson, which is basically like a superhero. I don't know if you would call this more fantasy than sci-fi, but I see like superheroes as being like sci-fi-ish. I think of Marvel and stuff, and X-Men and things like that, so which is Marvel. So yeah, I don't know, I kind of see this as being sci-fi, but basically this happened 10 years ago. Calamity came, it was a burst in the sky which gave ordinary men and women extraordinary powers, and they became epics. They used their powers to crush mankind and rule. Nobody fought back except for the Reckoners, who are basically a group of ordinary humans who've dedicated their lives to studying the epics, finding their weaknesses and assassinated them. And we're following David, who's determined to join them, and he has his sights set on the greatest epic of all time, Steelheart, the epic who killed David's father. So David is just an ordinary man, but he's done so much research over the years into the epics that he has knowledge second to none that people, especially the Reckoners, could really use. So his aims to get into the Reckoners so that he can become part of this team that basically go up against the epics and try to prevent the epics from controlling everybody. And it's just really good. I had a great time with this one. I really enjoy the writing style. I mean, I enjoy Brandon Sanderson's writing style anyway, but I really enjoyed this one. This is more YA than his adult fantasy, so again, bit different, but I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping to continue on with this series as well next month. It will be really good to pick the next one up in the series because it was a while ago now since I read this one, but I had a great time with it. Really recommend it. Another Brandon Sanderson is Skyward, which is another YA, and this is definitely sci-fi, and this one is following Spencer, whose world has been under attack for hundreds of years by the Corel, which is a group of aliens, if you like. And basically Spencer's dad used to be one of the pilots in one of these ships that used to fight against the Corel, but one day he turned on his own people, and basically he has been deemed a traitor ever since then. Spencer now has been tainted with the same brush, and she's trying to get into flight school, and they keep knocking her back and knocking her back and knocking her back until eventually a lecturer kind of, you know, wants to help her out, and she manages to get through the flight school. She's treated very differently. She doesn't stay at the place where everyone else stays at. She ends up coming across a ship, an abandoned ship, that she then starts working on to try and make it her own. It turns out this ship is called Mbot. She comes across this little slug as well called Doom Slug, which is adorable, and eventually she does become a pilot, and I really enjoyed this. I really liked it. I know a lot of people don't like this because they hate Spencer, but I really enjoyed it. I liked, there is like a flash of comedy in here. I love the audiobook because Mbot is Scottish and it's priceless. It's just so fucking funny. So I highly recommend listening to this one on audio, but I really enjoyed this one. I haven't picked up Starsight yet. I'm kind of waiting until closer to when Cytonic comes out because I want to read them back to back essentially, but I can't remember if this is going to be like a 6-book series or if it's just a trilogy. I feel like it's going to be a 6-book. I know that there's like 2 more numbers in between that, but I feel like it's one or the other.
I was way off.
I'm not sure why, but I'm really excited about picking this one up anyway, and not picking this one up, I've read it, picking the next one up, and hopefully I get a chance to do that next month. But yeah, I really recommend Skyward. Then we have Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi, which is a dystopia. It's YA dystopia, and basically this is following a young teenage girl who is called Juliet, who's locked in a cell by the establishment, a harsh dictatorship in charge of crumbling world. But she's no ordinary teenager. Basically, she can kill just by touching you. So she's very paranoid about this. There is a story behind why she's, well, other than the fact that she doesn't want to go around killing people, there's an actual story of why she's like really extremely paranoid about it. So she can't control it, and basically the re-establishment wants to use her in order to be able to control people, and she is not having any of it. So we follow her on this journey. We are also following a guy called Warner, who is the son of the guy who runs the establishment, and we're also following a boy called Adam as well, who's part of the rebellion. So I really enjoy this story massively. I usually hate, there is love triangle in here. I usually hate love triangles, but I kind of don't mind it so much in this one. But I do have my favourite. So I really enjoy this series. I'm having a great time with it. I think I'm 3 books in so far, plus the novellas in between. So yeah, I'm hoping to continue on with this one because every single time I pick a book up, it's just so fast paced, and every single time I pick a book up I just forget how much I enjoy the series. So I'm looking forward to continuing on with this one. Do recommend it. Then we have Mortal Engines by Philip Reeve. I don't talk about this series much. I'm 2 books into it and really enjoying it. I loved the movie. It was fantastic. Essentially, this is another dystopia, and essentially we are on Earth, but it's done in such a way that the towns are now on wheels. So they go around on wheels, and these towns, the bigger towns, are going around destroying the smaller towns, and it's just fighting, a lot of fighting and things like that. And we're following a boy called Tom, who ends up flung out into the wastelands, where a terrifying cyborg begins to hunt him down. And he also ends up with a girl called Hester, who has been living in the wastelands but jumping on and off towns for a really long time, and they end up teaming up and trying to find out what's going on. I really enjoy this. I enjoy the thought process behind towns being on wheels and being able to travel around the earth and move about like that. It's really good, and I just really enjoyed the movie adaptation as well. I had a good time with the movie, and I really enjoyed the first 2 books in this series. So again, hoping to continue on with this series because I had a really good time with it, but I do recommend it. It's very good, especially if you're into your dystopia books. I highly recommend this one. Then we have Cinder, which is the first in the, why can I not remember the name of this series? Lunar Chronicles, which is the first in the Lunar Chronicles. These are essentially retellings. So this is a Cinderella retelling, but with a huge twist. So basically Cinder is a cyborg. I freaking love it. We're in New Beijing, where cyborgs and humans live together. So basically there's a deadly plague running through New Beijing, and from space the ruthless Lunar people watch as this goes down. What they don't realise is that 16-year-old Luna could hold the secrets to preventing this from going down, and some other stuff as well. So Cinder lives with her stepmother, who is obviously a bit of a cow, and Cinder runs the shop that her father used to run. However, she comes into contact with Prince Kai one day and finds herself intertwined into a intergalactic struggle and a forbidden attraction. Caught between duty and freedom, loyalty and betrayal, she must uncover secrets about her past in order to protect her world's future, because there is something unusual about Cinder, something others would kill for. So I really loved this series. I actually had the original set, and then over my birthday and Christmas managed to collect this set, which is absolutely stunning, and I'm obsessed with it. I really love this series. I think my favourite book in the whole, if I remember correctly, I think my favourite book in the whole of them is either Scarlet or Winter. I can't remember fully, but I really enjoy this series. It's fantastic, so good. We follow a different girl through each of them, but it's basically every single time you're adding another duo to the set. So when you get to Scarlet, you're adding a second duo to the Cinder and Kai set. And then when you get to Crash, you're adding another duo to the Cinder, Kai, Scarlet and Wolf, I think it is in hers. And then when you get to Winter, you're adding another set. So I just really enjoy the fact that that's the process that we go through. I like books that do this. We're following like 2 main characters, but essentially we follow the rest of the characters that we've already come across. It's just such a good time, and I highly recommend it. And Marissa Mayer's writing is fantastic as well. I kind of really want to reread this now. Balls. But yeah, I loved it. It was great. Then we have Aurora Rising by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I really enjoy this one. It's so good. Basically, we are following the graduating candidates of Aurora Academy, and they're being assigned their first missions. The star pupil Tyler Jones is ready to recruit the squad of his dreams, but his own boneheaded heroism sees him stuck with the dregs nobody else in the academy would touch. So basically Tyler gets himself in a bit of trouble when one day he goes out just before the recruitment thing. He goes out in his ship just to clear his head, and he ends up finding an SOS beacon on his map thing, and he goes to the ship to find out what's going on. When he climbs on board, he finds that everybody is in cryopods and everyone appears to be dead except for one person. So he brings the cryopod back to the academy, and Aurora is inside, and it turns out that she has been in there for the last 200 years and she's no idea what's going on. To her, she's literally just left her home to go to wherever they were supposed to be going, but it's been 200 years and nobody seems to be able to confirm where she's come from, because her story does not align with anything that is in the database, and she thinks that someone's covering something up. And so with the help of this team, Squad 312, which includes Tyler, Also, a cocky diplomat with a black belt in sarcasm, a sociopath scientist with a fondness for shooting her bunkmates, a smart-ass tech wizard with the galaxy's biggest chip on his shoulder, an alien warrior with anger management issues, and a tomboy pilot who's not into her squad leader, in case you were wondering. Yeah, she ends up trying to find out what happened to her family and her home, and it's really good. I really enjoyed this. Aurora Burning came out last year, Aurora Rising came out the year before, and Aurora's End comes out the end of this year, I think it is. So really looking forward to picking that one up. I have reread Aurora's Rising already, and when Aurora's End comes out I want to binge the whole series again. But I really enjoy this. I know some people don't like it, but I really like it and I highly recommend it. It's so good. Also, the audiobook has a full cast, so I recommend that too. But yeah, it was really good. Speaking of a full cast and J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman, I'm obviously going to recommend the Illuminae files. I love this series. I've reread this twice already, so I've read it 3 times and I'm not sorry in the slightest. I will never get bored of rereading this. I love this. This is told in multimedia. It's got mixed media in it essentially. So basically we have an AI called Aiden who runs the ships, and we are in a bit of another intergalactic war essentially. 2 mega corporations are at war over a planet that's a little more like an ice covered speck, and we are following Katie and Ezra, who have just split up. They're at school one day and then the war kind of comes to their planet. They manage to get off planet into some ships and they are split up. They're on different ships now, and basically they manage to get comms together and sort each other out and try and help each other out. But something's going down and Aiden is very suspicious, and he's a little bit of a psycho AI and he controls the ships and what's going on, and a bit of a plague ravages one of the other ships as well. There's a lot happening, but it's fantastic. The storytelling is outstanding. The mixed media a lot of people struggle with, but I really like it. You have like emails, you have conversations, you have transcripts, you have Aiden butting in every now and then. There is a lot happening, but I really enjoy how this is told, and if you follow along with the book, with the audio, it's fantastic. It's one of the best reading experiences I have ever had, and I will continue to say that until something else comes along and does it better. But it's one of the best reading experiences I've ever had. Gemina is my favourite in the series. I know that Jade DNF'd at Gemina. We're not going to talk about it, but I really love this series and do highly recommend it. And again, like I say, if you're going to read it, I would recommend the audiobook with following along with the book. I know some people find that redundant, but the fact that it's multimedia means that following along, it's like proper storytelling. It's like watching a movie but you haven't got the visuals, it's just the audio and the book. I highly recommend it. It's great. And then the last book I'm going to recommend is This Splintered Silence by Kayla Olson. I don't think enough people are talking about this book. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. On the back it says 85 of us were left, now there are 84. Maybe Dr. Saffron was wrong. Maybe the virus latched onto all of us. Maybe it's simply smothering the second generation more slowly, or maybe it has mutated. So basically there is a virus on this ship and it's killed all the adults on the ship. And it's just the second generation now, the younger generation, that have survived. However, they start to die one by one, and the Lindley Hamilton, she ends up being the leader of the station because it's her mum that was the commander and killed by the virus. So she ends up being a leader of the station and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just really good. I really enjoyed the way that they kind of came together, and she managed to kind of build her own little crew that would run the entire ship, make sure that everyone was okay, and try and find out what the hell is going on. I really enjoyed this. I haven't seen anybody else talking about it, but I think it was great. I think I gave this one 4 stars, and I wouldn't mind rereading this at some point as well because it was really good. So I do highly recommend it. I think I got this in a book box at some point. It might have been a Book Box Club book, I can't remember. But I think too many people are sleeping on this one. I really liked it. So yeah, highly recommend this one. And that is my recommendation for sci-fi books. I know you were probably expecting some of those, especially like the Illuminae files probably. And The Martian, probably. I think most of you know that I love The Martian. But yeah, I really love those sci-fi books, and do let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these or if you've got any recommendations for me based off of these. But I highly recommend these books, so I hope you do go and pick some of them up if you are interested in them, or they've been on your radar and you're like, you know what, yes, definitely going to read that now, it sounds so good. But yeah, do let me know in the comments down below if you're interested in any of these, or you're going to pick them up, or they've been on your radar, or you've already read them, or you have recommendations for me. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you got to the end of this video, leave me a sci-fi-ish emoji if you don't want to leave another comment. So, I don't know, a rocket, a planet, the sun, the moon. Just leave me a sci-fi-ish emoji. And I shall see you next time. Bye for now.